A federation is a union of constitutions. Nigeria became a federation because the constitutions, like the countries of Germany and France and Portugal, discussing whether they could become European Union. That was the kind of thing that happened in those 10 years leading to 1960. The Constitution of Western Region came in 1957, am I right? The one of the East followed. The North came in 1959. These three constitutions, with their full sovereignties in their hands, went to Lancaster House discussion. Correct me, elders, if I'm wrong. It was in Lancaster House that they decided what they would, mandate the center to do for them, and it became the basis of drafting a federal constitution for the independence, with those three constitutions as the federating unit, with all their sovereign powers and authority contributing for the upkeep of the center. By 1966, of course, 1963 came, the Midwest had become the fourth one by plebiscite, and eventually, those 5 constitutions that defined the Union were toppled by the military intervention of 1966. From that point on, the meeting that happened in Aburi in 1967 was to see whether we could go back to something that would refloat the ship of state. And they came back and abandoned it and went into brigandage. It's been one imposition after the other. The one we call the 1999 Constitution today was the first staff commissioned by Murtala Mohammed in 1975. Immediately, they overthrew Gowon. They got lawyers who had to draft for them. Unfortunately, it was our brother, Rodney Williams, the commission, and he had to look for people who would do it for them, with him. He found our brother again, Ben Wabweze. It was Ben Wabweze that crafted what went to Constituent Assembly. The reason Awolowo stayed away, and I'm telling you this from those who discussed it with him, Bankole Oki. The reason Awolowo stayed away was that the draft that Constituent Assembly was to endorse had already been made out. Of course, Murtala Mohammed had been killed in '76, and Obasanjo, who is their own man more than he's our own man, had to carry through. In fact, the Constituent Assembly did not accept the states that were imposed in 1967 as basis of the Union, because that was where we lost our federalism completely. The Constituent Assembly did not accept the presidential system because it would accumulate power like we have seen now. The Constituent, so many things the Constituent Assembly did not accept. The Land Use Act, you all know what happened. The land tenure system in the North is one in which everything belongs to the emir and he gives to whoever he pleases. They have transposed their civilization upon us in going to appropriate all the lands under that land use act, and so many other things that centralize everything to where they can dictate who gets what. And by the time the Constituent Assembly finished its business, on the 21st of September 1978, I'm sure many here will remember that Obasanjo went to the national broadcast to introduce 17 amendments. Everything the Constituent Assembly recommended that were not in tandem with what was handed over to that Constituent Assembly were removed. And we ended up with 79 constitutions that became 99 when they just added the few states that they had. So this is where we're coming from. And therefore, in going to court in 2007 to say we have not made a constitution, it is to say there is no federation. There is no federation. You cannot anchor this claim and the right to do all of what you are doing on a fraud in which my signature was put on a document that didn't make, expropriating me and giving you power of life and death over me forever. And we say, at this moment, we can insist that we cannot renew our enslavement by going to a further election unless we raise a question, a dispute that will now have to be resolved one way or the other. They will ignore us, go to the election, buy 4 more years. And what we see in Jos and Benue will be child's play when it moves beyond where it is. Are we prepared to go to renew our enslavement and endanger the generations unborn further by going to election under this constitution? If we are not, is it not within our reach now? Because the man who is on the saddle, Ike Boremado, I'm sure many of you saw that, he said it can be done in 3 months. We can insist now. That's the lever we can bring to it. That 3/4 of the country, the brown, the black, the blue, and the purple, as you see on that map, is able to stand as a new majority to say that we will not go to another election under this constitution. If that question is raised today, in less than 1 month, we will be at the table of discussing whether we are continuing as one union, and if yes, on what terms, before we begin to discuss any election. South Africa came to this bottom in 1990, very declared, announced that they will have to decide a new thing. We are not taking one alphabet from that constitution from which they draw all this power. And if they think guns will resolve it, I can only wish them good luck. Thank you very much.